centaur would say in Narnia. But the problem is that oftentimes you do need numbers to win a battle. As Fred and Kimberly Kagan, two key thinkers behind this successful 2007 surge in Iraq. This was people, military advisors behind the surge in Iraq, behind George W. Bush's policy. They say defeating the Islamic State will require as many 25,000 ground troops in Iraq and Syria. 3,500 is not enough troops to be militarily decisive against ISIL. All of their disadvantages, all of their rhetorical quotations talk about the atrocities of ISIS. But they won't be solving this because they can't defeat ISIS. They cannot defeat ISIS with the amount of manpower they have, and they have no historical precedence of doing so. They claim that they haven't defeated ISIS because they need weapons. However, there's a difference. If you truly do deserve the weapons, you need to show that you can beat them on some fronts. The Kurds, for example, they haven't been supplied with the weapons. They need weapons, but they have been able to defeat ISIS in many battles just to show they are capable, but that doesn't negate their need for weapons. But the Assyrians have not won any battles. They've granted this. They've played a role in Kobani, but we don't know what that role was. Their manpower is not powerful enough to fight the Islamic State, and they do not play a role against the Islamic State. Now, my next point is, my Solvency 2 is Iraq blocks the shipments. Iraq blocks the shipments. Now, they claim that Iraq won't block the shipments because of the constitutional right to defend themselves. However, the problem is that they're taking this way too far. Just because under the Second Amendment we have the right to bear arms, if Russia gave us a tank, that wouldn't be legislatively appropriate. Because if we are armed by Russia, we could say, well, we, under our Second Amendment in the Constitution, have the right to defend ourselves, have the right to bear arms. But we all know that does not work. Just because something is granted in the Constitution doesn't mean the government will abide by it. President Obama has committed many breaches of the Constitution, and yet he still is in power, and he still is in he's still the commander-in-chief of the United States government. So by doing this, just because there's a clause in the Iraqi Constitution that grants this,